I just didn't see failure as an option. It just didn't even enter the calculus. I'd rather fail big than fail small. Things work out in the end. And if you find that they're not working out, just know that it's not the end.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Success in South Florida podcast. I'm your host, Adam Rossen. And on today's episode, we have the bankruptcy Buddha, Jeffrey Bast. Jeff is an attorney. He's also an entrepreneur, runs a very successful firm down in Miami. He's a member of EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization, and Provisors, doing some really cool things. I've been lucky to get to know Jeff a little bit, but we're going to dive into a lot more about him and just how he's grown and become the amazing entrepreneur and attorney that he is now. So Jeff, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Adam, thanks so much for inviting me to be here. So I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. So first of all, just kind of, tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you came to be on this show.
Okay. So I'm an attorney by trade. I always like to start off with, I'm a father by, I'm a father and a husband and a lover of the ocean, all those things first. But then for my professional life, I'm an attorney. And I run a law firm with my partner, Brett Amron. I founded a law firm with my partner, Brett Amron, called Bast Amron, that specializes in restructuring, that is insolvency and commercial litigation, with an emphasis at the sweet spot between the two, insolvency litigation. But how I got there is I'm a longtime big firm lawyer. I clerked at a law school for 2 judges and then went to work at Holland and Knight, where I climbed the ranks up to equity partner. And then a small group of us moved over to Hunton and Williams, where I was an equity partner. And then in 2008, I decided to take the plunge and start my own firm. As you can imagine, in March of 2008. My timing could not have been better. And I like to say that I saw something happening. I didn't know that it was going to be what it turned out to be, but I was immediately just buried, busy. I sent an email out announcing the formation of my firm, and literally my inbox went, my inbox was full, and I had my first client like within an hour. And that's when Brett, my partner Brett, had started his own firm a couple months earlier, and he and I started, having coffee and talking through issues and what are you doing for this and what are you doing for that, and then we started sharing office space, and then we formed a firm, and now here we are. We're about to celebrate our 16th anniversary in 2 weeks on May 1st, and
amazing.
It's been quite a journey, a lot of fun, and a lot of hard
work.
And
so timing is so important. It's interesting. March 1st, 2008 is when I started Rossen Law Firm. So that's when I left the state attorney's office. That's when I left the prosecutor's office in Broward. And it's interesting because being a prosecutor, you're not making much money. I was 26 when I started. So then of course, by September, the economy collapses, right? All that stuff, stock market, everything. And in criminal law, we got to get paid from our clients. So but everybody's like, oh, how you doing? This is so terrible. And I was like, well, it's better than being a prosecutor. I don't know. I don't have anything to compare it to. But for you hit that area of gold, right? Going into, bankruptcy litigation during, a few months before, what is it? The worst economic crisis probably in our lifetime, or at least, up until now. So that's great timing. Great time.
Yeah, I mean, my timing. So I started mine on March 10th, so I was right behind you. And yeah, the thing is, I was so busy just immediately, which is a good problem to have if you're starting your own firm, because obviously you're starting your firm. The biggest concern is, do I have enough work? Will I have enough work? And I made a good decision of hiring someone immediately. I brought a file clerk from my office. I said, hey, you want to be a paralegal? You want to come work for me as a paralegal? And she had a long-term plan to go to law school. And so just having an extra set of hands was helpful. But I was so busy right off the bat that I never really had time to put together systems and structures. And so it was a good problem to have, but it was more about just doing the work. And so I was fortunate in a lot of respects. I was busy right off
And
the bat.
so I was a prosecutor for 2 years. I'm 26 years old, and I'm just like, me and my old partner, we're just like, screw it, let's just go and let's start and let's work out. We were roommates. Let's just work out of our apartment right across from the courthouse. But lot different for you. You were
Yeah,
older than 26. You had
I was
become an
actually,
equity partner.
yeah,
How old were
sorry.
you?
I was about to turn 40, and that's kind of like, people ask, why'd you do this? I was very happy at both of my law firms. But at Hunt, and I had a corner office. I was the hiring partner. I had a good parking spot. I was well
Right.
compensated. So I didn't leave because I was miserable at Big Law, or any of those typical stories. I was very happy, and a lot of people were shocked. They thought I was, a to the end guy. And I was getting ready to turn 40, and I was just thinking about life. And I was also, really focused on business development, and it was becoming increasingly difficult in a big firm in a small environment, like, it's relatively small, Miami. And every time I referred a client out because it was too small or we had a conflict, I thought, wow, there's a lost opportunity. I could have done this work, and it would have been a small fee, 10,000, 15, whatever it was, small for that firm. But it was a great opportunity to develop a relationship. And that's really how a book of business, gets built. And so I was like, I'm getting ready to turn 40. I came home to my wife. I was like, I think I'm going to start my own firm. She's like, what? And literally a couple of weeks later, I started my own firm.
So it was fast because I was going to ask you. So this wasn't a 6 month or a 2 year plan. It
No,
was relatively fast.
no. I mean, I think I always kind of had an idea of sort of building something, and, but like when I decided and made the plunge and moved very quickly. Um,
So then
So,
no
but yeah,
marketing
very, very
plan, right?
different time of life than yours was.
And
Yeah.
no marketing plan, no business plan. Just, hey, I'm just going to put it
You know
out
what?
there.
You know what? And I don't know if I've reflected on this a lot. I don't know if it was confidence or arrogance or ignorance or some combination of the three. But my analysis was kind of like, okay, my hourly rate was 550. I remember the math, right?
Hmm.
550. If I'm going to reduce my rate to like 395, that was my starting rate. I'm going to reduce my rate if I can collect 1,000 hours. That was like my calc. That was pretty much
Right.
the analysis I did. If I can bill and collect 1,000 hours, and I'd been hitting 1,800, 2,000, 2,020, 200, whatever for years. If I could do that, that's half the time and, decent money. I can make a living. I'm not going to starve.
Right.
But I never saw it as a lot of, I remember talking to people when I announced, even, like the managing partner of the firm, they were like, God, that really takes guts. I just, every time someone said that to me, I was kind of scratching my head. I was like, I just didn't see it. And that's why I don't know if it was ignorance or arrogance or
Right.
confidence, or maybe that's the entrepreneurial spirit, but I just didn't see failure as an option. It just didn't even enter the calculus.
So the thought process is very similar because look, I was making 40 grand as a prosecutor. Well, maybe at that time 46. And I'm sitting there at 26 going, I can't even pay my student loans. I know I can make this for a year or two at least to build. And worst case, I crawl back to the state. So for me, it was a pretty easy decision. It's very scary though, still, but
Yeah.
it was moving through the fear, and as lawyers, most of us are trained, to fear failure.
Yeah.
And so I think it's same thing for me, confidence, arrogance, maybe a little bit of stupidity, naivety, but just, but the good kind of stupid, of just basically being like, all right, so big deal, right?
Yeah.
That part that kind of gets you through the fear. Now you're at, big law. So there is that safety, stability, equity
Yeah.
partner, all those things that you said. So how was it, especially the conversations with your family, with your wife? Do you have kids at this time?
I do.
And
I do. And
right.
my youngest, I have three kids. At this time, my youngest was 3. So I had kids that were 3, 5, and 7.
Right.
And so we had our hands full. And so my wife was so important to this decision and the process. And she was like, if you want to do this, do it. I got you. Because, we both knew that this was going to be a big lift for me. And I absolutely could not have done it without the support of my wife. She, took the kids on and just supported me in every way, from, making me breakfast to, to picking me up. And there were always those times, I'm sure you have kids,
Yeah.
If you have kids, that you get that call from your wife and it's like, okay, I need you to come home now. I'm just done. We had those moments, of course.
Yes.
But it was absolute teamwork.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, that is so important. So, for me, at that time, it was just me. So it was easy, but I couldn't imagine having being 40 and doing to me, that seems so much scarier and more
It's fun.
difficult at that age, because of course, at that time you have a lot more responsibilities than just yourself. And the money, I'm assuming at that point, you probably got a nice house, you got, there's all these things that your
Yeah.
standard of living at 40 is a lot different than my standard of living at 26 when I'm young, single, living on Las Olas, right? In a
Yeah.
2-bedroom apartment with a roommate.
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
but that goes into having that partner, right? Your wife, who's there to say, all right, let's do this together. I
Yeah.
think that there's an amazing
For
lesson.
sure.
Jeff,
It's funny
what
because
would you say?
I
Go
think
ahead.
doing it at 26 sounds scary to me, but but
Right.
yeah.
Well, it was, but at the end of the day, what did I have to lose?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Where it's like, in a way, I always said, like, we were too stupid to fail because we had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
It's just, okay, big deal. I'm young, single, and I have no real responsibilities.
Yeah.
Um,
Let me make one more point. Like when I left, it was very important for me. There's two ways. I always say this. It's two ways to leave a big firm. Either there's an email saying Jeff Bast has left the firm, or there's a Jeff is leaving. We're having a going away party in the conference room at 2:00. Come and celebrate, whatever. I wanted to leave with the party. So it was really important for me to leave on good terms. The firm knew I was not a threat. I wasn't trying to steal clients or people. It was very upfront. I spoke to everybody. And so in my mind, I always thought, okay, worst case scenario, I think I could go back to law, but I mean, to big law, but I didn't, it really wasn't, I wasn't worried about that. So
right.
anyway.
And so you start the firm, you make the leap. Obviously, things happen really fast for you between just probably your contacts, the economy, everything. But there wasn't a lot of intentionality behind it besides some minor number crunching.
Yeah.
Walk me through the first, maybe, and then when you partner, right? When you partner up, walk me through kind of that first 5-year period. Is it just hustle, market, sell, do good work? Like, at what
Yeah.
point did you shift from being that grinder to in survival mode back against the wall to, okay,
Yeah.
wait a minute, we actually have a law firm here. Now I need to transition into more CEO, owner, different things like,
Yeah.
entrepreneur, different things like that.
That's a great question. It was a process, and I think, I mentioned my wife as my partner, and then ultimately I found Brett as my partner. And so I was, as I mentioned, I had an extra set of hands. I had a paralegal who was really instrumental in, helping me get off the ground. And, I was so busy and, like you said, grinding, but I always maintained my marketing, business development, that piece of my life. I had really developed that as I transitioned from one big firm to the other. I realized that business development you need to be intentional about it. And in fact, my experience at, my first firm, when I was up for partner the first time, I had always been taught, don't worry about business development. Work on being a good lawyer and business will come. And then you're up for partner. I'm like, all right, where's your book of business? I'm like, what are you talking about? You've been telling me to focus on being a
Right.
lawyer. And so that was a big lesson for me. And I really became intentional about it at that point. So when I started my own firm, I always kept the business development piece going. I grew up here. I've lived my whole life here. I'm a second generation native. And so my contacts are vast. I've been accumulating for my whole life. And so I kept doing that. I was busy, but I was still struggling with issues. And so Brett Amron ended up becoming my resource. Hey, I have this problem. Like, that was one thing I missed from Big Law, is like all your peers. There's always a
Right.
resource. You can always bounce something off
Camaraderie.
someone. There's
Yep.
partners that in your practice area, there's associates. And so you're kind of alone when you start your own firm. And so Brett and I were, resource for each other. And then we started sharing space together. And then ultimately we started co-counseling some cases. And then I realized, like, okay, when you're a solo, if you're the source of revenue, even if you have another
Right.
billable person. But if I go on vacation, that's
You're
it.
done.
Faucet's turned off. So we started saying, hey, I'm going on vacation. Can you cover this case for me? and then we formed a firm. But before that, we each had hired an associate. I think hiring an associate, it's a conversation I've had many times with, lawyers entrepreneurial lawyers who have recently started their firm about when to hire, because people are always afraid to hire. And I'm a big fan of hire. Just hire them first, as soon as you need it, because, I don't know if I have enough work. Hire them, and then you will have an incentive to get enough work.
Yep.
So we both had an associate, we both had a paralegal. Like, then we started, when we formed a firm, we had a firm, and
4 lawyers right off the bat.
4 lawyers right off the bat. And then, and then we were hiring, and we started working with a consultant. Actually, I don't know if you know Dave Lorenzo. He's awesome.
Yes.
Dave helped us out. We started working about growing the firm and how to get to the next level. And one of the first things that Dave figured out after talking to us and our staff, he's like, you guys are at the ceiling of capacity. You cannot take on another thing unless you start fleshing out your firm. So it's hiring an office manager, bringing on some more lawyers, bringing on some more paralegals. And so we needed to grow the firm, because we were, in the first 5 years responsible, our billable time was responsible for 80 or 90% of the revenue of the firm. And the associates were 20, and he's like, you need to flip that model. And so that was the next 5 years, working on flipping that and building people up.
And building that infrastructure and having systems, policies, procedures.
Yeah.
If you don't have an office manager, well, you do. It's you.
Yeah,
right. If you don't have a billing manager or a bookkeeper, well, then that's you.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not what the owner of a firm, especially if an owner who wants to grow the firm, should be doing. Yeah. I know, because I was there for years and years and years myself. Yeah. And what you say is fantastic, because especially, look, criminal lawyers. There's not a lot of big criminal firms like mine with 20 plus people, 6 lawyers. And most of them are these fierce trial warriors, but they're so scared to bring somebody on. Again, it's this lawyer mentality of fear of, well, if I bring somebody in, what am I going to have enough work, or it's going to take money away from me. Every time we've hired somebody, it's amplified the firm. And you really have to look at it a totally different way. When I brought Manny on, Manny's the managing partner of the firm now. And when he came on in 2017, I think the gross revenue almost doubled, pretty much instantly. Yeah. And it just freed me up to bring in more business, to handle more cases. We're getting, the faster we get cases done with better results means we're getting more referrals, and just having happy clients, and just things kind of took off. And we grew so fast, so quickly, that we had no infrastructure, because it was all in my head, and it was all in Manny's head. Right. Yeah. And so then after we had that, then it was just, probably last 3 years or so of just, okay, we need to build systems, policies, procedures, run a real business. And then we get into the part where, well, the systems that we built for when there were 10 of us are now outdated at 22, 23 people, but that's a business. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. These, I'm familiar with these growing pains. Yeah.
Right.
It's hard. I guess it also depends on, what do you want? Do you want to, do you want a 5 lawyer firm, and you always want to stay a 5 lawyer firm, and you want to, do the work? For me, the difficulty, one of the key, points of analysis was, what's my highest and best use? And I think you have to kind of analyze that for everyone in your firm. And am I better off, on podcasts with, famous celebrities like you, or am I better off, in court, or writing a memo? And if you analyze, if you can figure it out, it's not always so clear. If you figure it out for each person, and you put each person in their category, doing what they are best at, or what their most, valuable, most valuable time is, then, I think you're on a path to success in South Florida.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. And you're absolutely right, because yes, as long as you can bring it back to the podcast, that's the most important thing. But yeah, you're right though, because as lawyers, as control freaks, also it's, nobody can do it like me. Nobody, BS, right?
Yeah.
You got to do the highest and best use of your time, and you have to let go of the vine of all the other things. You just do it if you want to grow. And that's a key thing you said. If, depending on what you want. Yeah. I've been at conferences all across the country speaking. And one of the things that I always talk about, I say is, look, you don't have to be like me. You don't have to want what I want. I want what I want, but you can be happy and at what you want, right? You need to decide and be very intentional what it is you want, why it is you want, and then craft that life, to fit for you, and craft
Right.
your business to fit for you. So that is so important.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Dave Lorenzo and coaching. So what year is this, and how did you finally walk us through that process of saying, I need professional help to get us through?
Wow. I wish I could tell you the answer. I don't know exactly, but it was definitely in that first 5 years. I can remember where we were, when we started talking to him. And so I think that's part of also EO was super helpful for that. I don't know how long you've been in EO, but I've been in EO for 13 years now, I guess, or 13 or 14 years, and the firm's 16 years old. So
Very nice.
I joined, and my initial, for those who don't know, Entrepreneurs Organization is a peer-to-peer organization that, so it kind of serves as your outside board of directors, if you will. Confidential setting for sharing. And it's not really a business development thing, but it's more of a business. It's the development of your business. And so my initial reaction was, I'm too busy. I don't think I have time for that. And of course, the answer to that is if you're too busy, that's exactly when you need it. But
right.
Starting to talk to peers, you learn from talking to other business owners. I think lawyers have this idea that, our business is different, that we don't fit the model. And there, in some respects, there are some areas like we can't market in the same way that other businesses do. We can't cold call people, that kind of stuff. But I learned that I can't do this myself, that I'm really good at what I do as a lawyer, but I'm not really, great at, everything in the business. And the other thing is, as I'm learning this, I'm realizing I need to be able to communicate with Brett about this. So I've encouraged him. I was like, I want you to join EO too. So we both got in EO, and that was really important because we both, in my experiences, it kind of teaches you a different way of looking at, the business of law, of looking at your business.
Right.
And so, we just learned that, we need to work more on the business and less in the business. I mean, I remember that mantra from that period, and it's a shift in the mindset,
Right. And just the way that lawyers are usually trained, and the people who tend to be lawyers, it's you study hard, you get good grades, and you pass the test and you do well. And it's just about being perfect all the time. And being an entrepreneur is the exact opposite of being perfect. You have to embrace failure.
Yeah.
And that's something that I learned a lot. I've only been in EO 3 years. It's been amazing. Part of my journey was in 2000. I started joining legal marketing and coaching and mastermind groups in about 2016, 2017. But when we moved to EOS in 2021, Caesar is our EOS implementer, and we're on our 4th or 5th year with Caesar. He's just amazing and has helped us so much. And EOS is a business, for anybody who doesn't know, it's a great business system. I think I always consider it just a framework for consistently making decisions, because when a decision comes about, it's okay. Well, if it's a people decision, what does the people analyzer say, right? Are they a core value fit? Do they get it, want it, have the capacity? If it's a business decision, well, what do our core values say? And what's our 1, 3, and 5 year goals? What's our mission and vision? And boom, the answer magically appears. But Caesar's the one who told me about EO. I had no idea about it. And I started looking in, and I told him, I go, oh, I want in. This is amazing. So I've been in 3 years, and it's been great. And I wanted to have a community of real entrepreneurs, because I think there's a major difference between lawyers who are business owners and real entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial lawyers. And so I wanted to be around non-lawyers, because I'm around a lot of entrepreneurial lawyers, but be around real entrepreneurs, whether it's real estate or tech or whatever, who maybe they've made a ton and lost it, then made a ton and lost it, then made a ton and had a big exit, right? And their level of or tolerance for failure is complete opposite from most lawyers. So
Yeah.
that's and just the learning and the groups and the, everything. I mean, it's an amazing organization.
I think, you said a few things that resonate with me. One is this idea of failure. It's something that Brett and I talk about a lot when we're making a decision. Our approach is usually I'd rather fail big than fail small, so let's just go. If we're debating an expense or a hire or something like that, let's go for it. And I do, I think that's an entrepreneurial mindset, and it's very much contrary to everything I do in my practice. Cause I'm a doomsday guy, I specialize in business failure. And so all I do is when someone presents an opportunity, I can, I'm looking at all the pain points and all the risks, but
you've had thousands of cautionary tales that you can go to, right?
I've seen them all. Maybe those clients that you said that started business and failed, and maybe they might have been some of my clients along the way. But I think one thing that, guides us, and this goes back to what we were saying before about intentionality and where you want to go is, for us, we wanted to build something, and I really genuinely care about the people here. So I could build it up and just max out the money and try to make as much as I can in the shortest period as possible. But that's really not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build something that's bigger than me. And I recognize and appreciate that there are 25 people here, or 22, whatever the number is now, that count on me. They count on us to feed their families. And this is my family. I mean, people say that, it's your office is like a family. I mean that to my core. This is my family. I love these people and I want to take care of them. And so I'm intentional about that, growing that and securing their futures, my future and their future. But also the same thing with my attorneys, that every time I hire someone, these are my future partners. I want someone, and I'll be gone. Like, I'm going to move on. I want them to be running this place when I'm gone. And so we're thinking about that with every hire, but really trying to build something that is sustainable and that can live on. And that's not just Brett and Jeff, So I think that's part of the long-term analysis, and Dave kind of helped us, and Dave and a variety of coaches over the years. Have Adam Silberstein's another one that comes to mind. I don't know if you've met him before, but really, I think a lot of times, it's hard to see the picture when you're in the frame. So coaching and consultants and EO, your forum mates, they help you, look at the picture from the outside, and help point out blind spots and guide us when we need it. So, like, the idea that you could do it alone is just so far-fetched. It's something I've been emphasizing with my kids, that it's asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength, and people want to help.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I throw a lot out there, but
The Success in South Florida podcast is brought to you by the team at Rossen Law Firm. If you need DUI or criminal defense representation, call the Rossen Law Firm at 754-206-6200 or check the description of today's episode for more contact information. The Rossen Law Firm, helping good people when bad things happen so they can achieve their best futures.
No, you're absolutely right. And look, the best professional athletes in the world, not only is there a head coach, they have their private trainers, they have their chef, they have their this, their that. They have their support structure, their team, their own personal team in there to make sure that their mind's right, their body's right. They're working on skill development, everything. And so, look, I was a high school basketball coach for 10 years. So if I understand the importance of coaching in sports, how can I not understand the importance of coaching in business? I'd be a fool. And it did take me a while, but then as I'm really thinking through, I'm like, well, of course I need this help. Now, you talk about family, right? The firm. I mean, look, we spend as much, if not more time with our business family than we do with our own family when we're talking Monday through Friday and all that different stuff. What do you say to the people out there who say, look, Jeff, it's a business. It's not a family. You can't run it like a family. It's got to be a business.
Yeah. I don't think they're wrong. I think they're just running a different business than mine. I could run my business in a different way. And I think the traditional law firm is, work people to the bone, demand 2,400 hours, measure, productivity, and make it just a numbers game. And, I could outsource a lot of the work to, overseas and try to just purely maximize profit. But that's just not the business that I'm running. I mean, it's with different businesses, and it's almost like we have B Corps now that have
Yes.
a secondary concern, which is not just economically motivated. Brett and I have, we are running a firm that marries our core values, and we look for people who are like us. Well, we value family, and I think we value family like in our own lives, but we value the family of our people, and we allow for, we don't call it balance. We call it harmony, because balance implies 50-50. Harmony is a little bit more, flexible, if you will. Sometimes it's 90-10, and sometimes it's it's 20-80, whatever it is. So, I don't want to work at a place where people are miserable and just, and I don't want to pay them the least amount. Like, I think that's the calculus of a lot of lawyers and law firms is what's the lowest amount you could pay someone to keep them there?
Right.
That's not our view. Is like, when we do well, we want our people to do well. And, we had our best year ever last year, and we paid, massive bonuses to people. And I think everyone was, we had, a lot of tears of joy, when we were announcing bonuses. And I love that. I want my people to feel good. I want them to come to work here, and I want them to be happy. And I really mean this. Every law firm says I have a no jerk rule. We don't have a no jerk rule, but we don't have any jerks. But I just want to be able to walk down the hall and not pass a doorway that I want to avoid. Like, there's nobody in this firm that I'm like, oh, I just don't want to see this person anymore. And I think that's a product of, who we are. And if you want, it depends on the environment that you want. I want people that are happy. And by the way, some of our people, they become best friends. Like, their families are friends. They travel together. I love that. I love that we're building we're creating an environment where people can build relationships. It's not just about billable hours or, a client service. Yes, it is about that, but people need to have meaning. And if you want to keep people around, I think you have to, facilitate that and also model it. So.
And there's a huge difference between throwing money at people to get them to stay versus, sharing in the success of the business and continuing to have that culture where people see it and they're so appreciative that their hard work, that, a rising tide lifts all ships. And they feel, they're in this together, where they feel as though they may not have equity ownership, right? Your legal assistants and paralegals, but they feel invested in the company, in the business, whether it's the mission or the culture or a combination of both. That is so powerful. And,
that's a good point.
And I love what you said about work-life harmony. That I wrote that down, and I'm stealing that, because I think that is the key. Because, for me, like, I love work. I love doing stuff like this. I work all the time, but there's harmony in my life between it, because I don't consider it work. Even if I'm doing something creative on the weekend or brainstorming or thinking about it, I'm not sitting there going, oh my God, I'm 3 hours that I could have been doing X, Y, and Z. For me, I'm happy with the things that I'm doing, and it's so much fun that, to me, it's stimulating. It's exciting. It's fun. So I think harmony is the best way you can put it.
Yeah.
And I really like
take
that.
for granted how intellectually challenging our work is, and also just the quality of the people that we work, get to work with generally, so I'm blessed in that respect. I work with great people. We have assembled a great team.
And so, Jeff, you also said, I'd rather fail big than fail small a few minutes ago. And I want to touch on that. So now, look, you've been in EO 13 years. Brett's been in EO. You have a different mindset. Now, that's also why you're responsible for 20-something other families, not just people. And I'm sure that's why you embrace that, even though that can be a very heavy burden. When you go and when you and Brett say, all right, let's shoot for the moon on this. Let's take a chance. Let's fail big. How do you communicate that? Well, do you communicate that to maybe your leadership team or some of the other people in the firm who are the ultra conservative, scared, I'm here for stability and a paycheck,
Yeah.
right? So how do you get that buy-in?
Yeah.
Or do you just kind of just do it yourself and don't tell anybody?
No. And let me be clear, we're not, when we say fail big, we're still making conservative decisions. We are not, risky or, going crazy with our decision making.
You're not putting it all on black at the Hard Rock.
No, yeah. So when I say fail big, I mean, it's, I'm saying those words, but we're not really taking crazy risks. We're pretty, conservative. I think one of the riskiest things we did is we built that new office space and we negotiated a 10-year lease in the midst of the pandemic. And we weren't sure if we were brilliant or complete idiots at that time, like building out, committing to an office space. And it turned out to be a great decision, I love our workspace now. But we're calculated. I think communication is, it's always a challenge because you want buy-in, you want support, but you also don't, I don't believe that good decision-making results from like polling everybody and, you're never going to make everyone happy. So, I think we're pretty good about, communicating, to our leadership team, just, vetting issues with them before we make decisions, but also we've inspired, and I guess you have to build this, but trust, trust is, to me, at the fabric of, everything. And that's part of why Brett and I have such a great partnership. It's built on trust. And I think if you don't have trust, you have nothing. And with a marriage, with your kids, but certainly with your business
Clients,
partner and your employees,
everything,
and your employees and your clients. And so, I think our people know, and I say this, I'm not always going to get it right. We're not always going to get it right. But you can bet your ass that we're trying and that we have good intentions. And if we get it wrong, we'll own it and fix it, and correct the mistake and pivot, So I'm not going to cover up, we actually had this recently. We were moving to new software and I spent the better part of a year, demoing software and we went with a sort of a newish product that wasn't really pervasive in the US. And I was really excited and I sold the firm on it and it was a complete failure. It just didn't work at all. Yeah. And so I owned it. I was like, you know what? I screwed up. I will take this one. I mean, I was embarrassed, but I owned it. I said, look, I screwed up, but we're pivoting now. We're going to new, we're going to a safer bet. We took a risk and, sometimes it doesn't work out, but I think as long as you communicate and you're somewhat transparent and you own your mistakes and your people trust that your intentions are right, you're fine, because that's what it's all about. And I've had this conversation countless times in this firm. I'm like, we're not always going to get it right. We're, in some respects, we're building the airplane in the air. It's hard for me to say that after 16 years, but I kind of still feel like it's a new firm. I still feel like it's a new thing. I'm still working on this thing, and I'll always be working on it. But I think I've established trust with my people, and they know that if they think I did it wrong, and we tell them this, if you think we're doing something wrong or you have a better way to do it or whatever, we want to hear it. We always want to hear it. And we try to build as many channels as we can for people to communicate those things. But if we get it wrong, we're going to own it. But rest assured, our intentions were right.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Yeah, we're similar, that we kind of have that startup mentality where even though we've been around for a while, we're always like, okay, how can we get better? How can we, make something right, iterate this process or that process. And it can be some frustrating with some of our people, but we've learned a lot about change management and how to get buy-in. And you're 100% right. It's trust. I mean, the foundation of every relationship is trust, personal, professional, just everything. And a lot of it's communication too. And as we've grown, we've learned that when there's 2 people, 3 people, there's not too many different communication patterns. But when you have 10 people, 20 people, there could be 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 different communication, feedback loops. And surprising, one thing that was surprising to me, but is not really surprising when you think about it or when you have wisdom, not everybody communicates like me. Took me a long time to realize that, right? Not everybody sees the world the way I do. Took me a long time to realize that. And so a lot of it is about building trust through communication and through understanding what's the thing behind the thing for people. What are they really looking for? What are they say X, but it's really, you have to dig deep to find out that it's really Y that is bothering them or is stressing them or is the issue, and it's manifesting itself as X, but you have to go dig deep to find out, and how they communicate and how do they trust. Because everybody has their own personal life experience, personal and professional life experiences. So it's, we're in the people business when we own businesses and as being lawyers and helping clients.
Agreed. And I think, adding to your point about communication is not, everybody communicates in a different way. But the other thing to keep in mind is that communication is a two-way street. The message I send may not be the same message that is received. And we've had that, many times over the years with not just in the firm, but, with clients, with opposing counsel. Sometimes you say something and people misinterpret, especially with written communication. I know we've all seen that, emails, texts, whatever. You send a message and somebody reads it in a different way. And it's like, oh, wow, that's not what I meant at all. You have to have a vehicle. And this is not, we haven't perfected this for, feedback loop, like you said, so that when I do send a message, if something was wrong or misinterpreted, I find out. Because sometimes, when you're at the top, you're the last person to find out about what's happening in your own firm. And so you have to be flexible and open to hearing it, but people have to know that it's safe to communicate. Hey, Jeff said this in X, Y, and Z, and I disagreed with that or whatever. And then it comes back to me and I can say, oh, no, that's not what I meant at all. So I need to clarify my communication. And I've been in instances of that. But people have to know that they're safe communicating it back to me or coming to me and saying, hey, did you mean this when you said it? And I've had so many instances where no, that's not what I meant at all. Or somebody, I suggest something like to the marketing, maybe we should try this. And then it's like, everyone starts working on that thing. And I'm like, oh, no, I just was throwing out an idea. I wasn't saying, let's do it. I just, so, yeah, it's hard.
I've been thinking about trying to make some AI like interpretation device of me, of just be like, like click a button, Gemini is now, we use Google Workspace. So, Gemini is now included with that. And I would love to have a button of make this extra nice, or make this, make sure that everybody understands this is a thought or a question, not a, we have to do this.
Right.
So that would be great. Cause written communication can often be misinterpreted. And especially when you're the leader, that's what I'm learning as well, is that, a lot of times I'll say, oh, or even more than just even we should do this, be like, okay, let's do this. And then even our marketing team will be like, oh, well then Adam needs this now. Stop what we're doing. It's like, no, I never said that. Like, so I'm learning and trying to just be more intentional about saying, hey guys, this could be like a month project, or add this to our issues list. We can discuss it at our marketing level 10 meeting. Right. So I'm learning too. That's part of the growth.
I have this tendency, like, I just want people to read my mind. I want you to just, I'll say a few words and you just take it and run with it. And I learned that, you have to be very clear in your communication, and the best practice is to have the person repeat back to you so that, what did I ask you to do, so that you can both ensure that, the direction was clear and that they understood what the project is or whatever it is this thing is. But I've seen that a lot. I used to work for an amazing litigator, bet the company type guy who would, we'd have team meetings and he would throw out an idea. And then, I talked to people and they're like, oh, we got to do this. And I was like, whoa, I don't think that's what he meant. And they were, starting to draft already. And I was like, are you sure? And I would go to the partner and say, there's a whole group of people working on this thing but I don't. And he's like, no, that's not what I meant at all. And so, the slightest, error in transmission can result in a complete deviation from the intention, so.
Right. Absolutely. So now, Jeff, you're an entrepreneur, lawyer, you're in, a lot of these high level groups. you guys are a forward-thinking law firm. What do you think is going to happen with the future of law? Maybe 5-10 years, maybe through AI, or just some, where do you think we're going here with this?
Wow. That's a hard one. I think, listen, AI is changing lives so fast. I'm certainly not an expert. I am trying to work on it. I'm learning about it, utilizing it. I think it's just going to make us better and more effective and more efficient. But there's always, in some practices, I think will, probably dwindle in some respects. But
Right.
ours, where we go to court, and we deal with the sort of the human side, I think you're always going to need some type of empathy, infused, analysis. And so my view is, AI is not going to replace us as lawyers. The lawyers who use AI are going to replace the lawyers who don't. And so we're trying to work with it, utilize it. But I kind of, at this time, I liken it to having like a summer associate or a first year associate. You can have them, prepare a draft or do some research, but you better check that research. You better check that draft. You can't just like take a first year's work and just file it with the court. It's the same thing. But I tend to believe in the need for human connection, for human interaction. To me, like I'm at, I think we're at our best when we're actually connecting with our clients and helping them figure out what their need is, what their objective is, and solving that objective rather than just, going down our path. A lot of litigators, especially, it's like a client comes to you with a problem, they file a lawsuit, get judgment, they follow a routine, but that's not always what the client needs. Even if they think it, a lot of clients come to me and say, I need to file bankruptcy. And really? Why do you think? Why do
have
you
a
think,
conversation? Exactly.
Yeah,
don't just do it because the client tells you.
Exactly. A lot, and they've been told that, or they read something or whatever. And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes they should file, and they need to file, but they shouldn't because there's so many risks or whatever, that type of analysis. But I don't know. I don't profess to be a great prognosticator, but I think we're going to be around at least 5 or 10 years.
Oh yeah. I think it's a great enhancement, especially for litigators. Look, for us, criminal defense, it's the human connection, of course, always.
Oh yeah.
And it's so important, but it can just make us better, more effective. It's not going to replace that, but yeah, I'm with you. It definitely, it could replace. I mean, if you have 5 summer associates, maybe you have 2 that are using AI that are high functioning, right? And there'll be some efficiencies gained. So we're looking in it a lot right now as well. I also think it's pretty interesting. We're kind of in the AI arms race now to see who's going to win or who's going to get the upper leg and who's going to get bought out by who and get all this funding. So we're not. A few of my friends are just jumping all in with a few different products, and we're still putting our kind of getting in the pool slowly, because I don't want to go all in on something that maybe underfunded or gets bought out and then kind of goes down. So, but we're definitely, I'm spending a lot of time looking into it. I think it's going to be a great thing. So Jeff, thank you so much for being here. What advice would you have for anybody who's listening to this? Maybe a young lawyer, maybe somebody who's not even in law, but just wants to start a business or, just trying to figure out life. All right. What are some kind of parting final words of wisdom?
Well, I'm an optimist, so I have a mantra that I use and employ all the time, and that is things work out in the end. And if you find that they're not working out, just know that it's not the end. So if you stay the course with whatever that project is, things will work out in the end. And I think, we tend to be down in the dumps, and especially in my line of work, I encounter people who, they're at their bottom and they can't see an upside. And, I help them see that upside. And we have, we have bankruptcy for a reason, the same reason that pencils have erasers. People make mistakes. And so if you made a mistake, that's okay. You get back on on your horse or your bike or whatever it is that you're riding, Harley, and, stay the course. I don't know. I have lots of different ones, it's hard to pick one piece of advice, but I always fall back.
I think that's absolutely fantastic, because it's never the doomsday scenario that we play in our head, right?
Yeah.
It never is. But that's where most people go, to the doomsday. It's all over. I can't recover. And it's just, it never happens. So
Yeah.
fantastic.
We're
Absolutely love that answer.
we're terrible at predicting pain. Yeah, we're terrible at it. It's always our anxiety about the experience is always worse than the experience. So,
right.
Yeah.
So Jeff, what's the best way for anybody listening to this to reach out to you, get in touch with you?
I'm on all the various channels. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm not so active on all the various channels, but I'm active on LinkedIn, obviously email, phone, email jbast at Bast Amron. And also my partner and I have a podcast as well called The Practice, which you can find by searching for Bast Amron. And we're looking forward to having you on our show, Adam.
Yes, I know. I'm excited. We just got to figure out when I can get down there, because I want to come see your operation and hang out in person. So we'll get it done soon.
Looking forward to that.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jeff. Thanks for being here. This has been awesome. All right, take care.